friends, this is Hedda. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my February reading recap. If you're new here, this right here is my reading journal, and this is where I record all the books that I read throughout the year, and I write down my thoughts on the books and how I felt about them. And I decorate the pages with stickers, washi tape, all kinds of stationery because I love journaling, and this is another way to do creative journaling. In February, I read 3 books and I'm gonna talk you through all of them, but first we need to set up a cover page for February. I like to do this every month because it separates the books into the different months. It makes it a little bit more structured, and also I love making cover pages. It's probably my favorite thing when it comes to journaling, so yeah. For February, I decided to go with a sunflower theme. If you've been here a long time, you will remember that I've done sunflower themes twice in my bullet journal. So I do have a lot of stickers that I made with sunflowers on them. The big vinyl sticker with the girl sitting that you can see here is from, I think 2022, so it's quite old at this point. But I had one left, and the good thing about being the person who make the stickers is that I always keep a few extras for myself. So even though they sell out in my shop, I can still use them at some point down the line, and this was the right time for this one, I think. The notebook that I'm currently using is called a Neapolitan notebook. It's from Archer and Olive. They're one of the biggest brands when it comes to dot grid notebooks in the bullet journal community. And this notebook has white craft and black paper, which is what makes it so unique. So it started with white paper and then moved on to the craft paper section, and this is the last purely craft spread. The next spread is craft and black, and this creates a very unique challenge for me as a creative journaler because you got to work with different colored backgrounds. Now, what is really great about the craft paper, well, also the black paper, is that you can use a lot of white stationery and it will really pop off the page. So you can see that with this rectangular kind of doily looking thing. One of you guys actually sent this to me, Trine in Denmark. Thank you so much. This was perfect for the spread, and I got a few more of this one as well that I will definitely use later on, maybe in a black section of this notebook. I just think that it looks so nice with the white on top of the craft paper. It's definitely a unique look. It was a little bit more difficult to glue down, and you can see I definitely ripped some of the edges off while putting it down, but it's all good. It worked, and the glue tape was definitely the right choice for this, I think, even though it got a little bit sticky around the edges. I wanted to have something a little bit more in the background, kind of behind the girl, so I used some of my own circle stickers. These are the Dark Academia circle and eyelet stickers. You can find these in my shop, ikigaipapir.com. I actually recently moved into my very own office, so that's where I'm running the shop from at the moment, and this video was also filmed there. The first YouTube video filmed in the studio. I call it a studio or an office, I guess, interchangeably. It's definitely more of an office, but it's also a studio. So far, I'm really liking it, and yeah, even though the table is made from plastic, I think the dark wood is a nice background. I'm still working out the best light solution for videos, and I struggled a little bit extra with this video because of the craft and the black paper, because when the paper isn't white, you definitely have to tweak the light settings on your camera a little bit more to make it still appear nice. So the colors are looking a little bit washed out right here, but I will get better. I used my own alphabet stickers. These can also be found in my shop. I just wrote February here at the bottom of the cover page. These alphabet stickers, I've had them for quite some time. I am not planning on remaking them. I think that it's time for them to go. I think because I keep looking at them so much, they feel older. alphabet stickers in different fonts and colors and stuff, but for that to happen, I need to clear out a little bit of space. So I will link to these alphabet stickers in the description box so that if you want to get them, you have a chance to do so before they leave the store. To be quite honest with you, they were a type of sticker that I thought would sell quite well, and they just haven't. So that's also why I am hesitant to make more of this particular alphabet sticker. I don't think just bringing in different colors would make it any better, so I think I just need a different size, different font, just do something a little bit different. Personally, I love alphabet stickers because it makes making titles and stuff so much easier. It just always looks nice with the stickers, and they're so versatile that it can be used for like anything really when journaling or when pen paling if you're into snail mail, happy mail. So yeah, I will be making more alphabet stickers, just not this particular one. But it was perfect for the spread, and I did also use the blue version in a different spread for February. So yeah, I definitely find a use for them myself. Okay, so on the left side I have kind of the main cover page, and then on the right side I have these frames that will hold each of the books that I read in February. This is my preferred way of making my monthly cover pages. I think that it makes it easy to see the books. The books have their own little space. There's lots of room to write. Here, my glue tape actually ran out, so I had to replace it. I really love this glue tape. It's from Tombow, and I love that you can replace the inside so that way there isn't as much waste. Mine has definitely been through a lot. It has lost the little cap that is on the edge to kind of keep the glue tape covered when not using it, because I've just dropped it on the floor so many times. But it still works, and that was my last replacement, so I need to buy more. I like to stock up on them so that I never run out of glue tape, so definitely need to make a trip to a bookstore or something soon. I tried to not add too many things to the spread. I think that the frames, because they are white or more of like a cream, they stand out a lot because of the craft paper background. So I tried to add more muted tones to the back, like a little bit of stamps, a few stickers, some pages from old books, and just kept it fairly simple. I think, for me, this is fairly simple. And then I added a few more stickers, of course, another sunflower girl, and one mochi tone from my sunflower collection. And then for the title, I usually just put books I read this month, and this time I felt like using my reading journal headers. This is also a sticker sheet that can be found in my shop. I actually realized right now that I used a lot of my own stickers in all of these spreads actually, which I feel like it happens in waves with me. Sometimes I use like mainly my own stickers, and other times I use mainly other artists' stickers. But this time this is what happened, I guess. All right, let's get into the first book that I read in February, and this one is called Almond. It is a Korean book by Won Pyong-son. This one was recommended to me by a friend, and I had never heard of it before. I'd never heard of this author before, so if it hadn't been for my friend, I probably wouldn't have known about this book. Without spoiling anything, it is about a boy who is born with a defect in his brain, so he can't feel emotions. Like he can feel physical things like pain, but he can't feel emotions like anger or sadness or affection, stuff like that. And the book is told from his perspective, so it is very interesting. It is not a very long book, but it is also the perfect length, if that makes sense. I think that the story is very well contained in this format. I read this in English, but it was originally written in Korean, and I think it's been translated to a lot of languages. I found this book very enjoyable because of the way that it's told. I mean, it is definitely a tragic story, very sad at times, but the way it's told is just so interesting, and seeing the world through his eyes is really cool. And as a reader, you understand a lot of the emotional cues, like the social cues from the people around him that he doesn't understand, so it like brings an extra dimension into the book, I think. So yeah, I think I would definitely recommend this one. I gave it 5 out of 5 hearts for the purpose of giving it a rating. As I mentioned before, and as you can see here, this spread has one side with craft paper and one side with black paper. So it is a little bit tricky to decorate. Now, the solution that I found this time around, I will be doing this many times throughout this notebook, so I think we'll see a lot of different types of spreads from me this year. But what I did here is I got out some black dot grid paper from a different notebook. It's actually a notebook from Takti that I have ripped out a lot of pages from, which feels a little bit bad, but also the paper is really nice and really smooth, so I love using it. The Takti paper is awesome. And then to kind of frame it, I used this cherry blossom washi tape from Notebook Therapy. This is from their newest Sakura Friends mystery box. I was really excited when I saw this washi tape because it's so pretty. And to make the border look a little bit more seamless and, you know, more like individual flowers and less like a washi tape, I did use scissors and my X-Acto knife to cut out some pieces of it, like cut around some of the flowers so that it wouldn't be a straight edge in the corners, you know? And I think the end result actually looks really nice. And then I could glue the black rectangle on top of the frame and that would conceal the straight edges, and now it just looks like there's lots of flowers coming out from behind the black rectangle, and I think that it looks really nice. I'm using some of the washi tape strips that is also from the mystery box. I think that they looked really cute and they worked really well on this column because they are not very long. For the title, I used an acrylic brush pen from Ohuhu. I am so excited about these brush pens because they hold acrylic paint, so they're like acrylic paint markers, but it has a brush nib, which makes it easier to do kind of hand lettering like this. As you can see, I did go over everything twice because it is black paper and it is a light pink color, so it definitely needed a little bit extra, but I think that it turned out really nice. I used a gold gel pen to do a little drop shadow just to pick up a little bit of the gold details in the cherry blossom washi tape, but to be honest, it's not showing off very well, so I don't know. I also wrote the Korean title of Almond above it, Almond. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I did actually learn Korean in university for one semester, but it was really tough because I was learning it in Japanese. I did the first 2 years of my bachelor's at a university in Tokyo, and I just needed to like fill up my schedule, so I tried to learn Korean. But of course, it is very different learning a language in your mother tongue and learning a new language in a completely different language. Like growing up, I learned Norwegian first, obviously, and then English. Then I learned a little bit of French in middle school, but then I did Japanese in high school. And then I moved to Japan, and then I tried learning Korean in Japanese. I don't know. It was a mess. It was difficult. It was that one semester. But it does mean that I can read some Korean. I do remember a lot of the alphabet, so you know, I guess it wasn't completely a waste. It's just that I don't understand any of the things that I'm reading. Anyway, I decorated the spread a little bit more with this pre-cut pet tape that was also in the mystery box from Notebook Therapy. I love pre-cut pet tape. It is so amazing. And then I did add a little quote here in the bottom right corner. I wrote, "Love is what makes a person human as well as what makes a monster," because this book does discuss monsters versus humans, or like the other, a lot, and what makes you human, what makes you a monster. It is a very good read. I definitely would like to recommend it to everyone, really. One thing that I struggle with a little bit with the black paper is that I have to write with a white gel pen. This one is from Ohuhu and it is really good, but the problem is that it does stain a little bit. So when I close or like when I flip the page, I don't always wait a long enough time for it to actually dry properly, and it kind of, yeah, it does stain a little bit. So that is a little bit annoying, but I have now been reminded by making these spreads, so hopefully next time I won't be making the same mistake. We will see. And you will see. I do tend to forget things like this in the moment just because I am eager to move on to the next spread right away. It's a me problem for sure. Overall though, I'm really happy with how the spread turned out. Being the first craft and black spread in this notebook, I'm actually really proud of it. And now we can move on to the first completely black spread of this notebook and the second book that I read in February. This one's going to be a little bit of a different story in all kinds of ways, really. I did not like this book very much, so this is going to be quite a negative review. The book I read is called Days of Revenge by Jawahiriya Ali, and the reason I picked up this book is because the author actually commented on one of my reading journal videos a while ago, I think over a year ago, and recommended her book, and it came out last year, I think. I'm pretty sure it's her debut novel, but I could be wrong though. This book was just not my cup of tea at all, and I do feel a little bit bad talking so negatively about a book that was written by someone who I think is just getting into writing. It might be self-published, I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it very much. But there's just a lot of things in this book that leads me to believe that maybe there hasn't been an editor from a publishing house involved. I felt a little bit like I was held hostage by this book. I was reading it like on the 12-hour flight from Bangkok to Copenhagen when I was going back home from Thailand, and I will tell you about the decoration on this page, but let me just talk about the book first. So the book starts out as a fantasy novel. It definitely has a lot of trigger warnings, especially in like the first 3 pages. So it starts out as a fantasy novel, but then after the prologue, it is like not a fantasy novel anymore, and then it like comes back, the fantasy comes back towards the very end of the book. I don't know, the last 30 pages or something. Maybe not even that. So from the get-go, I just was a little bit confused. And then it jumps into romance, and it's a very like fast-paced romance. There are a lot of different tropes in this book. It feels a little bit like the author just took various tropes that she liked from other books and just mashed them together into one story. So many things going on, like all kinds of twists are introduced, but it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't have an impact because it just feels so unbelievable and irrational, I guess. The main character makes no sense at all. The book jumps from like situation to situation so fast. Like sometimes I had to go back and like reread a few things from the previous chapter because I was like, how did we end up here in the next chapter, you know? And especially towards the end, I felt like some of the chapters were out of order because I couldn't figure out how the characters got certain places, and they were having conversations that felt like should have happened before others, or like it didn't make sense that they were happening after this other conversation had already happened. Does this make sense? It was just very odd, and I felt like the book really could have needed some editing. The ending also made zero sense. And I was horrified to learn that it is actually a planned trilogy. And I will definitely not be reading 2 more books of this because that sounds like torture. And I know that this sounds really harsh, and I do feel a little bit bad, but at the same time, I feel like honesty is better in this situation. I am not a writer. I don't know how to write a good book, but I do read a lot of books and I know what I enjoy, and this is just not it. I have not felt this confused by a book in a long time. It was also mostly smut. I was not really prepared for that. That is an important detail if you're going to read this book. It is mostly smut. But I feel like the book tried to include as many scenarios as possible. It's not even that long, and it just tried to include everything. And so that just makes each situation a lot less impactful. It makes everything feel a lot less special because there's just so much happening, so many different things happening. I also didn't really sympathize with any of the characters. They just didn't feel like proper people. The friend is just kind of thrown in there sometimes and then conveniently leaving, and then suddenly she's back, or she hasn't left yet, or I don't know. The fantasy aspect also doesn't really make sense because the way the people talk about it in like the real world make it seem like it's these like legends or stories, but it's also happening at the same time as everything that's happening in the real world. So it's like the stories just appear in the real world in real time. I was so confused, you guys. The world building was terrible, and I read a lot of fantasy novels, so world building is very important, and this book just didn't have enough world building for any of this to make sense. Yeah, my friend Hannah had to listen to me rant about this book while I was reading it on the plane. Couldn't even sleep, you know? I just had to keep reading this book. Oh my gosh. Okay. For decoration though, I went with some of my own sun goddess stickers. I wanted to try these like cloud washi tapes that was sent to me in a pen pal letter, and I thought that the orange and the yellow would look really nice with my sun goddess stickers. I also used some of the square stickers from my sunflower collection, and I think that they worked really well together. For the title, I used another acrylic brush pen from Ohuhu, this time in orange, and then I used a white gel pen to outline it and also to create a little drop shadow, and I think that the title looks really nice. I do like the drop shadow look with the white gel pen on the black background, so that's really cool. I also tried to decorate it a lot, but at the same time leave enough room for me to rant about this book. I probably could have written a lot more. Somehow there's a lot more to write about books I don't like than books I do like, so that is interesting, I suppose. One thing that I didn't do is I didn't add a quote in the bottom left corner. It is still empty. I just there was nothing that I wanted to include in the spread. Oh, another thing that I noticed was a lot of grammatical errors. Not so many spelling mistakes. I mean, sometimes there were some spelling mistakes, but a lot of the time the mistakes were with punctuation, like commas and periods. That's something that I don't see in very many books that I read either, but that also made me feel less good about the book because it did feel maybe a little bit rushed. And again, the issue with it feeling like it hasn't been edited properly. So yeah, unfortunately, this book gets the lowest rating out of any rating because it was just not a good book. And I'm sorry, but okay, let's just move on. Okay, so the third and final book that I read in February is a Norwegian book. So this one I actually just picked up from my parents' house. I went through their bookshelves and just kind of picked out some books that I wanted to read because I want to read more Norwegian books. I mostly read books in English, and it's nice to read books in English. I do like it, but sometimes it's nice to read books in different languages too. So I picked out this novel by Lars Mytting. It's called Svøm med dem som drukner. It has been translated into other languages. Hang on, I'll find the English title. The 16 Trees of the Sun, which is a very different title because Svøm med dem som drukner means swim with those who are drowning. So yeah, I don't know why he didn't go with a more direct translation, because I personally find that title more intriguing, because you're like, why would you be swimming with people who are drowning? Does that mean you're also drowning? Anyway, this was a very interesting read, and it's not going to go down in history as one of my favorites. It is a lot too slow-paced for me, and the language feels very flowery, but not in a good way. Like I can enjoy lots of descriptions and metaphors and descriptions of a person's inner life and all of that, but this one just felt a little bit too much. And it could also be because it is in Norwegian. It does feel different. Different languages feel different, A book that I find written well in English might not feel as good in Norwegian, and vice versa, just because it's different. I do think that my main issue, though, was that I couldn't really relate to the main character or sympathize with him, just the way he's thinking, and I don't know, it's just a little bit odd. But I do like that it is set in Norway. Well, at least the beginning is set in Norway, in a small town, well, actually on a farm in an area called Gudbrandsdalen. So, it is different. It's nice to read a book set in Norway. I understand all the cultural aspects perfectly. And sometimes, when you read a book from a different country, there are some cultural things that you're gonna miss naturally. That's just how it is. So yeah, I did enjoy that. As for the decoration, I decided to cut a doily into 4 and just make this kind of frame because, why not? I haven't done this before. I wanted to go with blue and white because of the book cover. I do really love the book cover with the waves, the blue and the white. It looks very pretty. So I decided to use a vinyl sticker that actually my manufacturer, one of the manufacturers that I'm working with, sent me this as a sample for their vinyl stickers. I'm not using this particular manufacturer for vinyl stickers at the moment, but I do like the quality of this one. And then I used some winter dragon stickers by Melanbread. They are really cute, and this was also a sample from my manufacturer. And it's interesting because I didn't know about this artist before, but now I'm following them and I'm considering joining their Patreon because they make really, really cute stickers and pins and stuff. So yeah. I was a little bit worried that the stickers weren't going to be opaque enough to show up well on the black background, but I think that they did, and they do have this really cool prism effect. So that adds a lot to the spread, I think. I don't know which artist made the vinyl sticker, but it is a very similar style to the sticker sheet. So I suppose it could be Melanbread as well, but I don't know. Since the color scheme here is very blue, I decided to go with my alphabet stickers again, this time in blue. And this is one of those moments where I'm very happy that I include the Norwegian letters in the alphabet stickers. Like, most of my customers are not from Norway, but I always include a, ö, and å in my alphabet stickers. Sometimes I also include the Swedish a and ö as well, just because I want the Scandinavians to be able to use the alphabet stickers even if they are journaling in their own languages and not just in English, because I am Norwegian after all. And so here I got to use the ö in svøm. I used the smaller alphabet stickers for the author's name at the bottom. And in the end, I covered up a lot of the black actually with decoration, so I didn't have that much room to write, which I don't know. I should have probably left a little bit more space, but the title is very long, so that definitely is the culprit, I think, for taking up so much space. It's like a fourth of the page. Overall though, I'm happy with how it turned out. I think that the blue and white looks very nice on the black background. Like there's a lot of contrast happening, and the blue is very pastel, so it's almost white, and it's just very nice. I like it. I am really looking forward to doing more different color combinations on black paper this year, because I think that it's a unique challenge, and it does make creative journaling like this a lot more fun because you get to experiment a lot more than just on a white background. So very excited for that. That is it for my February reading recap. We're of course going to go back, do a little flip through of all of the spreads that I've set up in this video to get a closer look. As always, this is what we always do. If you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, please let me know. I would love to hear your opinion, especially in months where there's such a big difference between the books and how I felt about them. I think that it's interesting to hear other people's opinions as well. So yeah, please let me know. I would love to discuss. As always, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has watched this video, especially if you watched it all the way to the end. And if you have, put a sunflower emoji in your comment to let me know. And also let me know which of these 4 spreads are your favorites this time. I would also like to give a shout out to my patrons. You guys are the best. If you didn't know, I have a Patreon where I send out both physical and digital rewards to my patrons every month. So the members will get journaling kits, stickers, both physical and printable, meaning that they are a digital file that you can download and print out at home. Just depending on your tier, you'll get all of these things. There is even a book club, so that's perfect for those of you who are into reading. All right, that is all for now. I hope that you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!